This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Every story you love, every invention that moves you, every idea you wished was yours, all began as nothing. Just a blank page with a blinking cursor, asking a simple question. What do you see? Great ideas start on Mac. Find out more on apple.com/Mac.
What's up, Why We Rollers? It's Chris here. Just letting you know that we are currently live on Kickstarter this Witchtober with Dance Macabre, medieval horror role-playing. This is a game that we've been working on for a long time. I've personally been working on it for a couple of years now, and I am just so proud to be bringing it to Kickstarter to share with all of you. So if you are into medievalism, if you are into zombie apocalypse narratives, if you're into brutal OSR combat, this is the game for you. So head on over to stillfleet.com/Danse, D-A-N-S-E, to follow along with the project, give it a back, pick up some beautiful books. We have the core rulebook, of course, as well as the Guide to the Abandoned World, a huge setting supplement that covers places outside of the medieval Mediterranean. We also have Unsunken Paris Below by my wonderful co-host, Wythe Marshall, which is a kind of a big city/mega dungeon setting. And we've also got Reliquary, which is a GM guide for relics and treasures and all kinds of goodies that you can find within the game. So check it out at stillfleet.com/Danse, D-A-N-S-E. Welcome to Why We Roll,
a tabletop role-playing game design podcast by the Stillfleet Studio.
We're your hosts, Chris Pickett, creator of the historical fantasy game Dance Macabre,
and Wythe Marshall, creator of the political sci-fi game Stillfleet.
Through the show, we hope to amplify new creative voices.
We chat with different indie TTRPG designers, talking through a range of questions that are pertinent to many designers, players, and GMs.
We hope to showcase fresh and even challenging ideas about what makes imagination-based games so powerful.
Before we introduce today's guest, a reminder. If you enjoy this episode, please consider supporting the show and all of our games over at patreon.com/Stillfleet.
Okay, let's find out why we roll.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Why We Roll, the tabletop game design podcast from the Stillfleet Studio. As ever, I'm Wythe Marshall, and I'm here with...
Chris Pickett. What's up, everybody?
Hey, what's up, Chris? We're very excited. We have on our longtime collaborator and friend, Tony Grasso, who's been on the show before. And this time, I don't think we'll speak as much about mutant animals, although we can always talk about mutant animals, Tony. But we're here to talk about some other projects Tony's working on with us, but mostly with Tony's other longtime collaborator, Alex Hitchen. So, Alex, hey, thanks for joining. It's really nice to finally have you on the pod.
It is a pleasure to be here.
Well, before we go any further, Alex and Tony, maybe you guys want to just introduce yourselves, and especially the MAD Network, so we can kind of unveil. We're talking about all things MAD, the MAD Network, MAD Cartography, MAD Borg, folding up freaks, and seeing sort of nigh infinite combinations of body horror creations and all other fun. So, Alex, do you want to take it away and kick us off with how you work on games?
Sure. I'm Alex of the Mad Network, as it says somewhere down there. Bit of a growing network of various TTRPG content that we make, predominantly the Mad Cartographer, which is fantasy-focused battle maps, assets, and Foundry VTT content. And then we have the Planet Hoppers, which is kind of our sister company, which is all sci-fi stuff, maps and assets. And then more recently, Madborg, which I'm working with Anthony Grasso, Swamp Dweller, for making various Borg-related content that is including our Cursed Flesh zombie stuff that we're doing in the future, but more recently, Folder Freak, which is our coming Kickstarter. It is the sequel of Folder Freak 1. We are now doing Folder Freak 2, which is made for various Borgs, which we'll undoubtedly go into throughout the process of this interview. But yeah, so I've been working with Tony for a couple of years now on stuff, and this is probably our biggest project to date.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're currently in the process of doing the Kickstarter, building things up for Folder Freak, which is a random monster generator for Morkborg, Cyborg, Pirate Borg, and then our own Cursed Flesh, which is kind of where we're at with it. And Tony is predominantly he's the artist for it, and is also kind of doing a lot of the writing in a little bubble, and then things come to me, and then I go, "No, Tony, not
yeah,
like
I
that."
hand it all in completed, and Alex goes, "This sucks," and then we start over.
Nice. Healthy working relationship.
Yeah, that's kind of been the way of it for a couple of years.
Yeah, it works.
Nice. Well, Tony, for folks who are listening who don't know your work from Blister Critters, working with Wythe and I over at Stillfleet Studio, could you give us a brief intro? Who is Tony Grasso?
Me. I'm Anthony Grasso. I live in Tallahassee. I do tabletop illustrations, writing, design. Between the Stillfleet Studio and Madborg, they are kind of my two big projects, the various things going on between them. I think in both cases, I'm kind of like lead graphic design, lead illustrator, I guess, depending on the game for Stillfleet. And yeah, I get to do kind of a wide variety of things between the two, like large projects, which is a lot of fun for me as an artist. Lets me kind of stretch. Specifically when I'm doing like Madborg stuff, which is kind of specifically Morkborg focused. It's very grim, dark, and gross. And I've gotten to do that actually now with the Danse Macabre work that I've been doing. So yeah, I get to do a lot of fun stuff between my two internet jobs.
Yeah. No, we're very lucky to work with Tony. Especially, I'm very thankful because Tony is doing our kind of layout and, like you said, lead graphic design for Danse Macabre, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. Also helping out with some illustration work, which has been amazing and super helpful for me personally.
Yeah, I spent last night putting together a TikTok for the homunculi illustration.
Nice.
That I did for Danse Macabre. I'm excited about it. People seem to like when I posted it before, so I'm just gonna keep pushing the Tony videos, and hopefully they'll go somewhere.
Yeah, we love the Tony videos, and we want to see more of drawing the art. It's something we've talked about doing more of, is like showing how do we do stuff, and I think it's often a skill. Like teaching anything, I guess. It's like, how do you explain something that comes naturally? So I think it'll be fun. We've experimented a little with like you and Ethan for our work. And Chris, you've been on a couple of those too, I think, showing sort of some live drawings and talking through like, okay, I'm going to design a thing. How do I conceptualize it? So I guess that leads us to, how do both of you as artists kind of, do mad creation? But maybe we can also hear a little more, Alex, since we've not had you on the show before, how did you get into games? How did you get started with this whole network of mad activities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was 5 years ago. It was COVID, which was a miserable time for so many people. It's great for me. Loved it. It was, we ended up closing down the business that my wife and I ran, and then had to do something, and was basically going through Reddit and going through various battle maps subreddits, and saw Chapaku and saw how much they were making, and I thought, I'll have a bit of that. let's try and do that. And so that's when I started as the Mad Cartographer. That was my first form. I'm not even on my final form yet. That was my first form though. So I started as the Mad Cartographer, which was the map a day cartographer. I was literally making a new map every day, releasing it because I was very much aware that by starting, I was already years behind a lot of other people. I needed a massive backlog of content. I needed enough content to keep promoting. And so, I was like making maps every day with variants and nearly burned myself out after a month. I think I stuck with the map a day for the first month. And then it was like maybe a map every other day. And to the point where it's like, okay, now I just need to be the Mad Cartographer because I ain't keeping this up. But yes, that's kind of how I started from humble beginnings as myself. And then just over the years, kind of took on another guy. He kind of like closed down his Patreon and started working with me. And then at some point he had to leave and kind of go and get a proper job. And then, over the years, I've just brought on other people, started up other stuff. We've now got like a team of about a dozen freelancers that work making like the battle maps for us and the assets and other content that we do. And I'm just kind of in the background pretending I'm working while everybody else kind of does stuff. It's working out all right so far. And Tony is just another piece of that pie, aren't you, Tony?
Another cog in the great machine
Your
that is
empire.
Alex Hitchen's Mad Cartographer.
It's getting there. It's getting there. But I mean, you'll know yourself why that. You keep wanting to try doing different things. You keep wanting to try and diversify. You don't want all your, everything in one pot. You want to try and do another thing in case that thing dries up. But with everything that you take on, it's not just like double the work. It almost feels like triple the work, and there's just more and more and more. So that's kind of finding those people that you can rely on, that you can lean on. And Tony's really good for that. He's fast and he's pretty diligent with everything that he does. So that's right. That's right. We work well together. I think we probably spend more time on a call that starts off with us intending to talk about work and stuff, but then we just kind of like shoot the shit for quite a while, and we've just got a nice little bromance going.
It's true. Alex was shirtless before the call.
I can attest to that. He was like struggling to get a shirt on before we went live, like within seconds of going live.
He was begging to keep it off.
We told him no. I mean, SEC,
Yeah, the FCC is really cracking down.
This is a full black This is a tattoo. This t-shirt is just a full tattoo. I am actually. This is really visual comedy for the podcast.
For the podcast. Well, that's great, Alex. We're always curious to, outside of starting the business, starting the Patreon, starting to do maps every day until you burn yourself out, and then make the wise decision to just do them every other day. How did you get into tabletop games? What's your history with that? When did you start playing and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Do you not come into it really late? I said really late. I was probably early 20s. I'm now 42. I don't look it. Again, really good for a podcast. Very good visuals. I'll put my OnlyFans link in the channel later on so people can see what I really like. But
you really have diversified.
It's basically you got to have lots of pots. My whole TTRPG thing came off the back of MMORPGs. I used to play Star Wars. I used to play Ultima Online back in the day, was in a role-playing community there. Then I played Star Wars Galaxies, another role-playing community which had people from the Ultima Online one. And then when Star Wars The Old Republic was going to come out, I had a guy reach out to me. He's like, hey, man, we want to play the MMO. Like, we were thinking about, maybe playing some tabletop with the characters that we want to play in Star Wars The Old Republic. And so I had no idea what a tabletop was. You kind of hear about D&D, but from the UK, it's not particularly popular or well known about. More so now, but kind of 20 years ago, definitely not. And so, yes, we ran like a 3.5 year Star Wars. So it was the Wizards of the Coast Star Wars Saga Edition. So we ended up running that, and so I went from never DMing to DMing for like, I think there was 10 of us that were playing over Fantasy Grounds without even using voice. We were all typing, and it was just like, yeah, it was also, but we were all MMORPG players, so we were used to that kind of role play anyway. But like, yeah, running it for 10 people. So that's kind of where I started, and that kind of became my little cliquey group. And then I've done some D&D stuff with my product manager for the Mad Network, Harrison. He's kind of like my second in command, my right-hand man. I met him on World of Warcraft, didn't like him, we hated each other, and then just kind of became besties. So it's been a kind of little slow progress, and I kind of like tried to play different TTRPG systems here and there, but probably nowhere near enough that I should be making TTRPG content. But so far, everything I've made seems pretty decent. But I think me and Tony were having this conversation the other day about kind of like sometimes having a lot of knowledge about different TTRPG systems is helpful, but it can also kind of hinder you because you're never sure whether it's an original thought. It's like, did I get this from somewhere else that I've read it somewhere? Whereas if you kind of come out a bit more of a blank slate, like I do at times, then it's like, okay, yeah, this is me. And then realize that, it has already been done 30 other times and probably better.
Well, I don't know about better, but yeah, sometimes it's useful to look at how other people have done it and see, am I missing something? Or like, is there an articulation of this that's faster? Or yeah, like what, just even knowing, just for your own sanity that, okay, yeah, it has been done, but also like, who cares? Because a lot of, like any good writing, everything is reinvention, right? Nothing is like pure invention almost. It's very hard to like have a really truly original thought. It's really possible, and it just requires work to take a good thought and like make it your own. Every time you do it, it's going to be your own by dint of whatever.
I think that's why it's good. Go ahead, St. Johnny.
So maybe for you guys, I don't know.
I was going to say, I think that's why it kind of works with the Borg stuff. Obviously, Mork Borg came out, but it's so rules simple. It's like OSR stripped back even further almost. So that's why you get so many hacks, and you get like Pirate Borg that was like really popular. It's kind of like, okay, you've made this, but it didn't have this thing that I'd like in it, and that's kind of where it's like a nice jumping off point for making a new thing. So that's kind of what we're doing with the Cursed Flesh stuff in particular. We're going very modern zombie apocalypse instead of it being kind of dark fantasy, because that's what a lot of the Borg content revolves around. But
yeah,
like
maybe
you say,
we can talk about zombie stuff, because we're both working on zombie games.
Oh yeah,
and I think you're working on a lot of things. We're both working on a lot of different kinds of games and have our own kind of takes on how it all hangs together. And Tony is the pie, the shared pie here. But
Tony is the
Alex
cornerstone of both of our empires.
That's right. You're a keystone shaped pie that holds two parts of an arch. I don't know. It's a really weird metaphor, but if you could maybe talk about Cursed Flesh and just in general, some of the specifics, right? So I know you're doing a lot of things, and feel free, Alex, to also backtrack and tell us more about Mad Cartographer and kind of your work there. But I know from Tony a bit about, and I have like Folder Freak 1's awesome, and I'm looking forward to Folder Freak 2. But more broadly, I actually don't know that much. I mean, I've heard a little about it from Tony, but like maybe it'd be great to just tell us your take on Cursed Flesh and zombie horror, because that's something Chris and we're interested in. We're really interested in. So I'm curious, kind of how you guys came to that idea and how you, like what does this mean to you to take Merkborg and move it into like right now, right? It's set sort of contemporarily, right? Contemporarily. I think I said that correctly.
Go on, Tony.
Yeah,
take it away.
I think. To tell, I guess, Alex's story at least a little bit here, Alex originally wanted to make Cursed Flesh. I think the working title was like Survive, but it was like 5e. It was very much supposed to be like the definitive 5e zombie apocalypse. Oh, Apocalypse. Sorry, but the SD being a 5e. Yeah. And that's kind of where it started. And me and Alex have been working on a number of projects together prior. And so I forget how it shook out that we eventually were like, let's just do it, like kind of as a Morkborg hack. But for a while, Alex had been working and putting, a lot of writing and ideas together for, like a modern apocalypse. broadly a system for 5e, with the idea of having kind of plugins for a zombie apocalypse, or more of like a Terminator robot AI apocalypse, or kind of a Mad Max, having a bunch of things to plug in on top of it. And then so that was kind of the general idea. However, it worked out that me and Alex decided to start working on it together and taking it down the Morkborg system hack idea. For a long time, it was called Madborg, which is now kind of the name of our small company that does Morkborg adjacent stuff, and was a general modern apocalypse agnostic system setting that we were going to put zombies into, and then put AI into. And after a while of working on that, me and Alex, after a long time, probably too long, of going really far down the road of making it kind of a blank modern apocalypse slate, we realized that we were having to make it so blank slatey and so open to
Bland.
it needed to be so vague that we could plug zombies or robots on top of it, that anything could go in it, and so it felt kind of boring. So way too late in the process of building that out, we decided we like the zombie stuff. Maybe we'll do the other games later, but let's like drill into making it specifically modern zombie apocalypse focused. And since then, it's had a number of like twists and turns that have kind of brought it to kind of the tone and vibe and setting that it currently occupies.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I find that a lot of like universal systems like GURPS or other kind of like, I guess, I don't know how to call it, like a sandbox system, something like that, where you can kind of plug in your own setting and narrative and all of that stuff, but the system itself is meant to be kind of ecumenical or universal. I always find them boring to read. I always think that they're very bland. And I think that the specific individual settings can be very interesting and add a lot of flavor. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting that like in the process of working on that, you kind of came to that conclusion where it's just like, oh, this isn't like, it's everything, but it's also nothing at the same time. It kind of, it just kind of falls flat.
Yeah. Like we'd have cool ideas and then have to go, but this isn't going to work if we do this other thing. And so eventually we're like, well, don't we want it to be interesting and cool at its base? And so now I think initially when we were building it out as a zombie apocalypse, it was very, I'll say like straightforward, like this is a zombie apocalypse. And I think over time we tried to steer it further and further into being kind of more weird and esoteric, to now where it will be is a modern zombie demon apocalypse where all the zombies are possessed by demons, and there's more like kind of gross body horror than I think would even be typical of the zombie apocalypse, which has been a lot of fun to explore, having kind of like arcane like demonic influences on not only the artwork but like the writing and how that would impact different systems. And yeah, I don't know if Alex, you want to expand or pick up anything I might have dropped.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we started, everything was kind of based on being more traditional zombie plague, but there was always still elements of the question mark of what brought that plague on. Was it more esoteric and magical and weird? So there was this kind of like loose base that we kind of had, but we almost left it deliberately vague, like people could come up with their own ideas. And then after a while, we're like, do you know what? It's just so much better if we just fully lean into it. And we still kind of keep like elements of it being a more a plague. And, we have the virologist as a class where you can kind of like manipulate manipulate the blood and things like that. So it still has kind of like bits embedded in science, and you have so they are the mad researchers. The people, the main organization is the Ministry of Apocalyptic Defense. So we've kind of just like, leaning, keep on brand. So you have the researchers, and it's all microscopes, and they've got labs and stuff like that. But then they have like these kind of like weird kind of like glyph tattoos that kind of give them some other odd knowledge and things like that. So we've kind of tried to kind of go weird and magic, go science, and then we've got like bits of religion in there. So kind of almost pulled every little zombie trope and then just smashed it all in Florida, because if the zombie apocalypse is going to happen anywhere, it's going to be in Florida.
Hell yeah.
And that's kind of how our world is set up. And we only went with Florida because that's where Tony's from. So the crown, which is what is remaining of civilization, is basically the capital, is essentially Tallahassee. They've kind of like walled it off. And then there's a few other places here and there. You've got Atlanta, which is kind of like the forefront of where the zombie front lines are, because there's basically just like a ring, like an actual ring of what is left of the known world, and everything beyond that is nothing. It's just kind of like taken over. It's kind of covered by this weird kind of amalgam, fleshy, no birds, no anything like that. So yeah, but I think that was more so that we don't have to try and do too much world building. It's like, if we keep it this big,
if we can condense to the tri-state area that Tony's familiar with, the world building becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, y'all kind of took the opposite approach. You took the opposite approach to us with Dance Macabre, which is where we're like, it's a worldwide setting. It's everywhere, which presents its own problems. But yeah, it does make world building a little bit less concise. Yeah, it's interesting, that there's a mix of like science and magic. It kind of reminds me of there's a 1995 anime OVA called Biohunter, which is about demons, but you turn into a demon by being infected with the demon virus, and it's got this kind of similar thing where it's very arcane and gross and weird and has great body horror scenes. But then it's also like the protagonists are like scientists who are trying to cure the demon virus. But I like that in Cursed Flesh, it kind of opens up to both possibilities, and it still gives GMs an opportunity to play around with like, well, what's the real source of this? How can we fix it? Is it something we can come back from or not? It still leaves open a lot of narrative opportunities for people that are running the game, even though you have a very specific, geographical setting for it.
Yeah, I think you do find that with a lot of Borg stuff anyway, like that they give you a lot of stuff to riff off and then deliberately leave some big open plot holes sometimes. I think we've tried to fill more of the plot holes, or at least have intentions with filling them in other supplements or something down the line, maybe.
Yeah, we've definitely, I think some of the things that me and Alex have picked up from a lot of official Morky content is that it is very sandboxy. It's specific in tone. It's unique in so far as that, but there are a lot of big open questions that I think are fun on glance, but then you kind of look at what players are kind of saying, more so asking, where it's like, well, what does this mean? How do I do this? How do I play this? And I think that is a large part of Pirate Borg's success, and that it answers a lot of those questions, not necessarily setting wise, but system wise. It's much more straightforward, and so we've tried to incorporate some of that. I don't know. I don't want to say ideology, but that practice of having it be a little bit more structurally sound and fleshed out as a game, as well as having the setting feel a bit more sensical, I guess, less sandboxy, less esoteric to the point where it could mean anything. Which I think it helps when we're doing it as a modern apocalypse. It can't be so vague, so broad. You kind of have to have it be grounded to some extent.
Yeah, I think we've kind of embed little clues here and there throughout the book of people to kind of piece together what the timeline was in certain ways. Because, like I say, as much as we kind of like to leave things open, there are a lot of people that don't necessarily want to do that kind of groundwork. It's like, no, I want to know what the thing was. I don't want to have to come up with the thing. I think for a lot of people, it is, I run a lot of D&D. I'm running Curse of Strahd. I homebrew probably 80% of the content that I run for my campaign. I think where there are so many people that just love to have an adventure module and run it as is, I've always been of the mind that it is harder to take something away that exists than it is to kind of build your own thing in that gap. Like with Curse of Strahd, if you try to change something, it's like, oh yeah, but the knock-on effect of it changing the thing down there, you need to make sure you know like the whole module back and forth. So I kind of like with Cursed Flesh, I want to have those bits if you do want them, but it's not so embedded and ingrained that if you want to lift something out and don't want a particular mechanic or a particular piece of lore, if you don't want that in there, it's okay, it's fine. You can still make it your own game. It's just finding that balance, I think, sometimes.
Well, they're very different, right? Because one is a campaign, so it's extended adventure writing, and the other is game design, and it sounds like Cursed Flesh. It sounds like, Tony, you've done the rare feat of, with Blister Critters and Cursed Flesh, having two very different games in two very different genres, with the implied backdrop being like suburban Florida. So I think it's like, you kind of nailed
the taking over, baby.
Yeah, just taking over the world, representing for Tallahassee.
Yeah.
But
I think culture courtesy of Anthony Grasso.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, damn you, Tony. But you're kind of like playing with genre, right? So it's genre tropes, and it's less about specifics of an adventure, and it's more like, in this genre, I would expect there to be rules for, say, machine guns in a modern setting with zombies. But if you wanted to play with no guns for some reason, or so, you could figure that out, because it's sort of epicyclic. It's just a good weapon. It's not sort of core to like the experience. But you would need rules for the basics of the genre of like zombies, running away from zombies, fighting zombies, stuff like that. I am curious, because I am one of these people, like, as a science fiction like nerd, like a science fiction studies scholar, I'm like so distracted by things like in The Walking Dead, the choice to say we don't know, like the CDC can't tell what caused the outbreak of zombieism, and it's like, I work in biomedicine by day. Like, that's bullshit. Like, biomedicine is absolutely the jewel in the crown of science created by humans across the world. And we're really good at like figuring out what causes stuff. So I find it very interesting when settings try to straddle the line. But I am curious if you can say on the record, you mentioned demons. Is it a demon thing? Is it a, virus or other, communicable disease thing? Or is it like totally a mystery, which is fine too. We're not going to judge. I'm just very curious. It's like burning in my head.
We don't judge.
Yeah,
we don't judge mysteries. We don't judge mysteries.
So it will all be in the book, because, like I said, as much as it's important when we're doing a setting book and it's got all the rules and stuff in it. I think with Borgs, people want the vibe, right? They want the artwork, and they want the narrative, and they want the kind of the whole setting, so it becomes a little bit of everything. But we've started in so many places. The idea at the beginning was that it was based on that they had found that the world had found the original Book of the Dead, and then the concept was that they had the original concept was that the Book of the Dead could bring people back to life, and in using the original texts to then put it into science for making super serums and shit like that, for making your super soldiers that can't die, they inevitably make a zombie thing. We stepped away from that, because the thing that I liked was we had this thing that the words cannot be contained. So that was the concept. So you put the words into the serum, and then the serum into the people. The words cannot be contained. The people die. Because we're also going to do an AI one, where it is still these kind of like machines that are falling apart. It was that they have transcribed the Book of the Dead. It is now in digital files. It is then in the AI. The AI goes haywire, AI, Skynet, but the words cannot be contained. So then all your machines are kind of like slightly cursed and kind of like demonic and stuff. It changed that many times with what we were doing. The final concept, and I think it was Tony that kind of came up, is like it's the Scorched Prince, and the idea now is that it was a discovery in Antarctica where they found essentially a coffin, and while it was being transported, I think it was like some accident in the helicopter, and the body of the Scorched Prince fell into the ocean. They took the coffin, which is like basically like this hand, to Tallahassee, which is the head of the thing. And the reason the whole world is kind of like turning into this big thing is the Scorched Prince is looking for his coffin to be returned to it. So it's basically all just shrinking down. And so this whole nothing that we've got, this big kind of fleshy amalgam of just sores and the world just rotting, is gradually getting slower. So there is an end game to, as there are with Borgs, like, it is the end of the world, And so this thing is like slowly creeping in and getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as the Scorched Prince looks for his coffin. But yeah, it kind of like shows itself in different ways. It is basically, taking life away, and what is remaining is the undead, and they kind of like range from classic zombie to very much Left 4 Dead and Walking Dead. We've kind of like used a bit of everything on it.
It sounds like Evangelion almost. There's like an eldritch thing that's out there which you could interpret through classic kind of Christianate, lens, or it could be very scientific interpretation, because either way it's eldritch. It resists that. It doesn't really give you a clear answer, which I personally like. I think that's a really elegant way to have your cake and eat it too, where we're giving it a name, we're showing you the pictures, but also like, what the fuck is it? Like, no one, is it an alien?
Yeah.
Is it some sort of mystical thing? That's a little more, to me, that's better than Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, and it has to be interpreted through some lens, right? So like that's why the Evangelion stuff makes a lot of sense, why it's still like angels and Lilith and yada yada, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, people are like interpretation machines. This is what culture
Right,
is, you know what I
right.
mean? So people would give it That's what we did with Dance, right?
Yeah,
Chris
yeah.
is like, people will give it meaning. So
Yeah.
let's say what they say, and then we as game designers hold back and say very, very little about what it really is. So I think you guys, it's almost similar. You're saying we're not going to tell you exactly as game designers, but here's what,
Right.
the news media showed before the end or whatever. Yeah.
I do. Before we move on, I really do want to say though, the idea of an AI zombie apocalypse has really solid legs, and I would love to see that explored in like a supplement or something. Because the idea of a large language model scrubbing a cursed codex, like a cursed ancient codex, and then like zombifying the people that it disseminates that information to. I mean, like that's literally just happening in real life with people like experiencing AI psychosis and shit. So it's like that's got legs.
Well,
You gotta go back to that at some point.
Hello. In addition to our regularly scheduled interviews on Why We Roll, we are doing some extra special streams with a bunch of different friends. We actually have 4 different streams to show off Danse Macabre and really continue playtesting, kicking the old tires. We have different settings and different groups. So if you're interested in the game, maybe you're on the fence, maybe you just love AP, check them out. I'm going to list these times. They'll also be easy to find on our social media and whatnot. So the first is October 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's with the Maniculum and Leonardo Andrade, and we're really excited. That's going to be one run by Christopher Pickett. Then we have 10-12, so that's also Sunday on the 12th at 7 p.m. I'm going to be running that one, and that is produced by Rachel Cordell, who is one of the RP jesters who is running Danse Macabre. So she's actually helped us put together with some very special guests, so we'll make some big announcements there. And I'm going to be running that. That's going to be set in Paris, in the Unsunken campaign setting. Then on 10/19, so that's again a Sunday, October 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern, Chris will be running a game with the Twice Rolled Tales crew. We love them. They do great AP work, and we're lucky to have them join us. And then finally, I'm going to be running one with some game designers from around the world on Sunday 11/2, so that's November the 2nd. And this one is at noon because time zones. So that's going to be with 3 different game designers, and again, we'll make some announcements, and that will be in some TBD other settings. So they're all going to be sort of different, and if you like the game, if you're curious about the game, and you just want to see different people tackle it, well, we do too, so that's why we put those together. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we're excited to find out. They're all Sundays. 3 of them are at night. 1 of them is earlier in the day, Eastern time. And you can find everything we do streaming-wise at twitch.tv/Stillfleet or on youtube.com/@Stillfleet. I don't know, you just look us up on YouTube. We're there. And yeah, we really welcome player interaction. Not trolling, guys, but ask questions or make suggestions. Maybe you can help somebody out of a jam, and maybe we'll give somebody a little bit of an advantage or a boost if you have a good idea in the chat. So please come help out our hapless pilgrims as we try to kill them over and over again in the zombie apocalypse of the Middle Ages. That's it.
So this is the thing Tony was saying at the beginning. Originally, we made Madborg, which was essentially just this generic thing, and then there was going to be the plugins for the zombies and the plugins for the AI. So we've got Cursed Flesh. The next one, hopefully, will be Cursed Steel, and the concept is when the robots are kind of like turned into these AI, and they basically graft body parts onto them because they want to become human. But the metal corrodes and they're kind of like falling apart, so they're these really kind of like twisted, kind of like shambling machines. But I think we're considering setting it in a different city, and we're considering it being more kind of like New York way, because we want to just have Boston Demonomics as the
let's
thing.
Fucking go.
Yeah, that's kind of where everything goes from.
Great.
Like
the robot
that's like
dogs
the
have
Necrons,
3
right?
heads.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you can do Cerberus. You can do so much with those tropes, and I think it's great to build on the idea of evil, Terminators, Necrons, but give it your own twist. And I think the idea of a cursed language is actually underused. It's something from like William Burroughs was big on and onward. The idea of sort of the poisoned word. You could just hear it, or Milorad Pavich, right? The dictionary of the Khazars. If you read these words, you'll die. It's a very classic kind of eldritch actual kind of folkloric trope. So I think the idea of modernizing that and making Boston Dynamics like, oops, we uploaded the poisoned large language model like into this dog, robot dog.
And they're all demons, Boston Demonics.
That's so good. It's shades of like Cyber Metal 2012. It's great. So you have Cursed Flesh, Cursed Steel. So the hope is to kind of do each as its own, like kind of an A5 hardback like Borg kind of book. Is that the sort of vibe?
Yeah, and with that we can add in new mechanics and stuff, so they become cross-compatible. So if you're playing Cursed Flesh, but we're not going to focus on kind of like vehicle combat and stuff like that, but if you're going to have like machines, it's like, hey, you should probably have vehicles in it. You could then have it into your zombie thing, so makes people kind of want in both. So there is cross-compatible content. If you do want a zombie apocalypse that's happening during the AI uprising, then there would be both books. And the good thing that we've been working on this for about 2 years now. They're on and off. We've been doing other things as well. But I think once Cursed Flesh goes out, hoping kind of end of Q1, Q2 next year, we've already kind of like worked out the vibe. We've worked out the template of the book. We kind of like know the main mechanics and stuff. So making the next book should hopefully be considerably quicker and easier.
Well, we've had a lot of pit stops along the way that have taken more or less time. Some of them may never see the light of day. Hopefully they do. But for some of the ones that have, like Folder Freak 1, that went really well. So that was a cool pit stop to make. And now in a couple of weeks, we will be pushing Folder Freak 2, which utilizes one of the freaks, one of the sheets that we're doing. Is Cursed Flesh, but we're also doing kind of a Borgy catch-all to kind of give something for everybody in the space.
Yeah. No, and I think we should definitely talk about Folder Freak. It's really beautiful, and as usual, Tony, with your work, it's not just like good graphic design, which is hard, and people should have props for that, but I think there's real innovation with kind of how you're putting together rules, lore, and it's very much driven by art and design. So it's kind of a beautiful object. It's not the full rules to Cursed Flesh, right? This is meant to be sort of this prelude showing off your Borginess and your skills. But it definitely will integrate, right? So maybe you guys can just say a little about what Folder Freak is, because this is number 2, but people should really check out. There's also number 1, right? So you can get 1 and 2, or actually, I guess it's a question. Can people still get number 1? Is that still useful? So what is Folder Freak, and why should people fucks with it,
I'll let Alex kind of describe. Alex brought the idea to me, and then we've evolved it from initial conception.
Sure. I can't even remember how I came up with the idea. I think I'd seen another Borg product where people had like decks. They had in the book, you could choose cards from a deck and place like the head and the bottom, and it kind of like made a different monster from 2 like different cards. I can't remember what the product was called. I was like, that's really cool. I like the visual element of randomly generating your monster, and it had like different abilities on the cards. And I think I was looking at something like, the little fortune teller origami things where you're like, oh, choose a number, choose a color, and you go like little star things. I was looking at that, I was like, that'd be cool to try and do something like that. Maybe I should try and do something where you fold the pieces of paper and they kind of like show different things. And I just grabbed a bunch of A4 pieces of paper. That's letter size for you Americans out there. And just started playing about with it and trying to work out a layout. And I came to it really quickly. It just worked. And so it ends up being a double-sided letter-sized print. And it is cut in certain ways that the folds, you can like roll 4d6 and it will give you a result for your top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. And you just fold the pieces of paper. And there's essentially the way it's cut and folded, there are 6 different options for each location. So you end up with 4 different abilities. So each individual section, each fold has an ability written on it, and it also has artwork on it, but it all ends up being really seamless. It's a really visual product for a podcast. It's a really difficult thing to explain.
It definitely
magbog.com.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it's definitely hard to explain, but if you, we'll have the link in the show notes for, both the Kickstarter campaign and also for Fold a Freak 1, just all that stuff in general. So yeah, please take a look. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I would also argue it's not hard to explain. If you grew up in the United States in the 90s, you had a fortune teller for doing MASH, like what house you would live in as an adult. That's what you're referring to, right, Alex? And a fortune teller, I think almost everyone around our age, I mean, I'm 41, so maybe it is age linked, and Alex, people who are our age will get it, and people who are not will just not get it.
Yeah, but Gen Z doesn't have MASH.
That was 100% common thing. A MASH fortune teller is what it is, but it is for the board games, and it is way more beautiful. And it's more complex, obviously, in that sense. You can do a lot with it, but that is like the object, right? It's like a paper object that's just very fun and well designed. So yeah, it is something. Again, it's innovative. Like I don't think I've seen that. I've seen GM screens, cards. Yeah. It was just a new thing to be like, oh, I get it. Weird, cool. I like it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I don't know how I came up with it. And the moment I started sketching out rough artwork and like, well, if I fold this here, it's got to match with that fold there. But then if I fold it out, it's got to match with that one. And I started kind of like doing some roughs. I was like, hey, Tony, we should make this thing. And Tony was like, oh, yeah, we should absolutely make this thing. And it is kind of, I've made a lot of things. I've had success with the Mad Cartographer, kind of financially. That's done brilliantly. But this is the thing that I'm just like, This is one of those where you look at it, that's a really good idea, Alex. Well done, you. well done, you. And then having Tony be able to just absolutely smash the artwork. So we did Fold a Freak 1 this time last year. And it was always just intended to be just a little thing because we want to do Cursed Flesh. That's the big thing. We just want to build up an audience. That's kind of the concept of what we're working on. So we thought, hey, do a little Kickstarter. We made it. Like I said, it covers the 3 main popular Borgs and then our own little Cursed Flesh thing. Because basically, we'll buy it for Mork Borg, Cyborg, and Pirate Borg. It's like, yes, but you've also got Cursed Flesh. So when we release that, you will already have some content for it. And it is just a random monster generator. It isn't anything bigger. It works off the Borg that you're currently using and others. It isn't specific to those. So that was
I would think they could slot into a lot of if you wanted to take them to a different system. Depending on what you were playing, you could 100% do so.
I was going to say, Tony, I would use it for grid system games. I wouldn't use the mechanics. I would just use the ideas and then remechanicalize because the systems are both very light. Yeah. So it's very easy to say, and you can just pick up, okay, I'll just roll a D6. It says D6. So it's not like difficult I think it would be hard to move it into a system that is really, really tied to like D100s, very simulationist, very crunchy. But for any system that's rules light, there's a lot of OSR products like this that are broadly applicable. And kind of just like, and I think the grid system's kind of on the edge, that sort of of that bubble of like, mostly it's not D20, that's the main difference. But other than that, it's similar where like there's similar ranges for a lot of things, weapon damage. There's a lot of mutation. There's a lot of ideas where you're like, cool, this mutation's rad. I'm going to use this idea and just, okay, I'll make a D8 instead of a D6 again. So I think it's a great product and people should look at it as, it's one of those things where it's like too good and too cheap not to get. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't want to miss out because it's just like, well, this is cool. I want this on my shelf. And it's really not going to, it's not like a $50, $60 book. It's like, just get the Fold a Freak. It's cool,
Well, what's cooler this time around too is I think it was kind of born out of a call. I don't think either of us can claim the actual idea, but putting.
I'll claim it. I'll claim the idea.
Okay. Alex had
Is it
the
a good
idea
idea?
that we should put them in a folder this time around, a folder of Freak. And so we
I
have,
see what you did there.
we've been developing this large folder. We don't have like a thing that I could show. I guess it wouldn't matter. People are listening. But just talking about putting it on the shelf, the first time around, I packaged all of them into Ziploc bags or to plastic bags and, into the envelope. But we wanted to make it more of like an official, nice feeling a product. And so now they're going to come in these really durable, like well designed folders that are going to look nice on a shelf. And to answer an earlier question, during this Kickstarter, you'll actually be able to get Folder Freak 1 and Folder Freak 2, but this time with the upgrade that we are making Folder Freak 1 parallel with Folder Freak 2, and that you will also get a folder. You'll get all the upgrades that are coming this time around. So we are happy with how everything has turned out. One of the cool things, at least on my end, when Alex presented the project the first time, one of the biggest hurdles was trying to get like a template together and figure out how the pieces fit together so that when they fold, they will actually fold and look nice. The head sits where the head should go, and the torso kind of goes where it needs to. And that was something that on my end of it, of designing and drawing the different ideas that we had, was one of the biggest like hurdles to overcome. And then as it went on, as we got closer to completion, it definitely got a little bit easier. So when we came to it this time, something clicked early on in the ideation and the sketching where I was like, oh, if I just have them turned a little bit. So now they're kind of more hunched over, which makes them look a little bit creepier, a little bit more monstery. But it allows for a lot of like dynamic posing, like artwork wise, where the first ones have a lot of cool artwork, but they're a little bit more static to accommodate for us figuring out how to make these freaks fit together like in a semi-realistic way. I feel like on my part, I've really been able to level up the design of them because now they're not straight on. They kind of have a hunch to them. They can be a little bit more dynamic, which has been a lot of fun to show Alex and either have him go, no, that one's not it. But in a lot of ways, have them be like a solid upgrade, but then also fit right alongside the old ones. Where I think we've done the math, and it's like 10,000 some odd unique freaks that you can have between. If you get Folder Freak 1 and 2, which we hope you do, there's like 10,000 individual folds and freaks that can come out of it.
Yeah, I wrote down for Folder Freak 2 on your website, it says that there are 5,184 potential combinations just for Folder Freak 2, if I read that correctly, which is wild. I was actually going to ask you,
crazy.
I was going to ask you, like, how many base illustrations were there for that? Like, I don't know, like, how do you get to that number? Because that number of permutations is pretty large, and I understand it multiplies on itself, all of that good stuff, but. Yeah. How did you?
That's really the math of it. Is that it does just. It's really just the math of it that it does just multiply in on itself. So if you have like, I'm going to explain it, and it's not going to make any sense. But you have the sheets, and then because each freak is made up of 4 parts, and you have 6 potential options for each of the parts, that works out to 1,000 some odd per sheet. And then because each Folder Freak set has 4 sheets. It works out to being a little over 5,000. So then if you have Folder Freak 1 and 2, it's over 10,000 is how the cool marketing math works out.
Yeah, so you've got a monster that's got, if you rolled 4d6 and you rolled all ones, you've got the 4 positions, 1, 1, 1, 1. And then if you roll it again, you got a 1, 1, 1 and a 2. Oh, well, this is a different monster because it's got a different thing now. So essentially, because everything has its own artwork, so it will visually look different, and it has its own either ability or fluff or something like that. So it will actually mechanically be different. They're not kind of like wildly different, but you've got 4d6. It's a more visual way of having a splat book with, okay, we've just got a table with, okay, the head is this, it's got, you know, a duck's beak and bites and quacks or whatever, you know, so it's more visual, and you can show your players like, hey, this is the really weird thing that you're about to fight. It's like, oh, that's awful, thank you, Tony. So that's
per
kind of
sheet is 36. Oh, technically, I would say closer to 40 illustrations, because there's like the center bit. Once you get to the way the folds work, once you get to 4, 5, and 6 on your rules, you start to fold outwards rather than just folding in on the square. So there's a fair amount of illustrations per sheet, but the style that we've kind of landed on is pretty forgiving. And so that was actually one of the things when we came back to do Folder Freak 2 was trying to not overdo it. Like the first set of Folder Freaks have a kind of a nice Borgy simplicity to them to varying extents. And when I came around to do the second one, the initial idea was like, well, let's just go crazy. Let's add colors and let's, you know, have them be even more rendered and more this. And then the further along we got on it, Alex, every step of the way was like, Tony, just pull it back. Just go back to doing the one color. And I'm like, okay, fine. Well, let's go back to having it be, you know, not hyper rendered. I'm like, okay, fine. Because I think for me, I think in every project, I want to feel like a sense of like evolution and to level up and look back and be like, I'm X amount better this time around. And I think where that shines through for Folder Freak 2 is in the posing and is in the ideas and the concepts that we've been able to, I think this time feel more cohesive and everything feels a little bit more focused. But then on a product scale, from like a product design standpoint, having them all come in this folder, and if all the stretch goals go well enough, they'll also come with a trifold adventure that, you know, lets you take the freak right into, you know, a Borgy one shot or, you know, whatever system you want to take and run with. And so it's been a lot of fun trying to evolve what was a really smart and simple idea and try and see how far can we push it, how far can we keep it going. And we're already talking about how we would want to do future Folder Freak products with the concept and see how much more sturdy and fleshed out can we actually make it.
Here, free idea, Twister. So it's like a Twister mat with freak stuff, and where your body ends up is the monster you're fighting, and then it's got a
twist a freak.
Really hard to do over Discord.
Yeah.
Twist yeah.
Yeah,
I think some of the freedom and fun that we've had is just kind of how silly, like how tongue-in-cheek I think the based Morkborg stuff is. So it kind of lets you do stuff like Twist It. Like if you wanted to do Twist a Freak, it might not be a commercial success, but it wouldn't feel like tonally out of line with a lot of the rest of it. And so there's been a number of ideas, even in the Cursed Flesh stuff, of just kind of being like, it's kind of a silly idea, but it has a cool name, so like it works.
Yeah, no, totally. So it's an interesting idea of like you're taking, it's less so there's different levels of game design that we talk about on the show. Like there's like designing a new system and there's world building. And there a lot of what, you know, is successful is not that. It's like taking an idea and building on top of it, you know, epicycles. Like a lot of what sells is like 5e, like subclasses and stuff. And then a lot of that goes into, there's world building involved, but also like more tonal or genre play. And so here you have this idea of like, what do people want out of the Borgs? Like there are Borgs that people have settled on as these kind of, for whatever reason, they're seen as very approachable, fun sort of OSR games. You want to add sort of zombies to that. You feel like that's missing, but also one way to do that is to sort of get in touch with players who like the sort of dark fantasy medieval or the future or pirates. I don't know how pirates got in there, but sure, good for Luke. Whatever. And so I think it's a smart play, but then the innovative design here is also largely like, it's not just we listed a bunch of monsters in a book, in a zine. It's like we're creating this cool object that you want to play with and kind of figure out. And it's almost like a puzzle you want to solve as like a GM. So I think it's a cool project. I definitely think everyone should check out Folder Freak 2. And thanks for answering that question, because you can just get all of it. So you don't have to like go back. Yeah. You just go to Folder Freak 2, get all your freak on.
And it's better this time.
And it's better.
It has the cool new stuff.
And that's a good way to get in touch with y'all in general and like see your work and a little about Cursed Flesh. So if you're interested in that idea, then you'll be in touch in the future as Cursed Flesh comes to unlife in 2026, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you can say it. But.
It better be 2026. Something's gone real bad if it is. Good Lord. Yeah,
We're getting to the middle of
we're hoping.
2026, and yeah.
The thing is that is like there's no such thing as a small Kickstarter. Like even Folder Freak, it's not like the biggest product in the world, and we've kind of managed to make it pretty quickly. And albeit we are kind of the mindset of trying to get a lot of it done before we hit the launch button. But there's still the promotion. There's still that, right, well, this delays everything else because we've now got this, 2 months pre-campaign that we're kind of focusing on it. We've got the month during, and then you've got the finishing off afterwards. So it does take up 6 months of your year just doing a Kickstarter in general. And I think that's probably what, we had in our mind. Oh yeah, we'll launch in March next year, Cursed Flesh. We shall see. I think the reality is that kind of getting one project wrapped up and giving the next one your full attention that it deserves. It's better to not rush into these things. I've done Kickstarters that I rushed into and I hit the go button because sometimes there is a bit of a financial desperation. It's like, I can't keep spending money on this thing. It's, it's got to bring some money back in, and you can hit go too soon. And that's it. You only get to hit go once on the project. So it's like, for me, it's better to launch it when it's ready. And I think that's probably what we'll do with Cursed Flesh specifically. This was a little one. This was a little one to try and make a bit of money to help promote the next one. But it's
we're really hoping
the promo piece makes sense. Yeah, totally. So that's great entry point. So people can get it for some other reason. But hey, now they know about Cursed Flesh, right? So it's really smart marketing in that sense. Tony, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that we are trying, in large part, we're doing Folder Freak 2 because they're fun to make and we enjoy them. But also, we want Cursed Flesh to go well, so having a bit more of an audience behind it, people that have backed a couple of Kickstarters from us, definitely helps moving into the next one. But then also to build up a bit of advertising funds, to be able to actually make Cursed Flesh kind of happen. It seems to be the way to go. Beyond being an internet celebrity, which at that point you probably already have a fair amount of money to push into the advertising anyway. But short of becoming, influencers over the next 6 months, it'll definitely help to have another feather in our cap and a couple of dollars to throw at the zombie game.
Well, maybe you could say a little about how you plan to become influencers in the next 6 months, because I find that would be very useful for pretty much anyone at any stage of any business in 2025 or going into 2026. It's easier to do things if you have a large follower count, which is this whole weird kind of, again, an epicycle on top of actual productive capital that is just weirder and weirder and weirder, and no one really, the algorithms change, and there's kind of a lot to it that's different from the nuts and bolts of print costs, shipping costs, all those things, Alex, you said, that make even a quote unquote small Kickstarter that isn't make or break for your business. It is big because of that, right? You have real people waiting on you to ship a product at high quality, and prices fluctuate, and you can sort of lose money. But how are you going about kind of influencing? And is that tied to zombie games? I mean, I'm curious how you're thinking about it, right? Is it tied to zombie games, game design? Is it more driven by the illustration side, that you're both known as kind of illustrators, as visual artists?
I'm really glad that you asked that, because I wanted to use today's podcast as a launching point for my right-wing grift. I want to.
Christ.
That is how I plan on becoming larger than life in no short time at all.
So what's the grift? No. What's the plan?
What are we going to call whatever Nazi Borg we're going to make? But it's
whatever you're about to say, don't say it.
God, it's already been said. I already did it.
We're just
rather than eat the Reich, we're gonna be the Reich.
We're definitely not gonna do that.
This is all getting bleeped out. This is all getting bleeped out.
Join the group.
Fuck.
No. The real answer is, who fucking knows? The past month or so, I've been trying to develop some kind of personality brand of being really zany on TikTok. I'm enjoying doing it, but does it actually convert to anything? Numbers wise, I don't know. The videos seem to do all right? They get a handful of likes, get follows. It is a thing that built up over time, but numbers are weird. I feel like I have a decent Instagram following. I can post something and 3 people see it. I can post something and 2,000 people see it. In either case, I might get one person to actually go to the website. And so I think that the general wisdom right now is to do short form content, to just become a TikToker, to be on Instagram Reels. But not many people want to do that. I don't really want to be doing that, but that is where influence is coming from. That is where numbers are. That is where eyes are. And so, short of having a bunch of money on hand to throw at advertising so that people see it whether they want to or not, I think you need to hop on the video train. And if you don't want to, you don't have to, but it's going to be a slog. Like, there has to be like a different X factor that I think becomes even more of a crapshoot. Like, there's a lot of artists that I follow that don't do short form content, but they almost have years of a backlog of having people follow them anyway. But then they also aren't immune from doing short form stuff. As much as they aren't pushing it, occasionally they do. And it's like, that's the one that blows up. So
yeah. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this too. And coming from kind of the map Chepiku, like Patreon world, which was a little closer to where we started with kind of Stillfleet and releasing it more on a Patreon. It wasn't short form video, but now realizing, like, to Tony's point, everything is short form video. Short form video is just like how people engage online. So yeah, Alex, how have you sort of transitioned or thought about this?
Yeah, I mean, for us, so our socials have never been great. We've tried here and there, and we're pretty strong on Reddit, but that's about it. Everything else, it is the time that you spend making something to promote it, and then putting it out there, and it doing nothing. That kind of just that beating you down, like, man, what a waste of time that was. And there's only so many times I think you can keep doing it. There's people that keep going through and they push through, and then something changes, and it's like, all right, people have latched on. The algorithms hit me. I've just got that right amount of followers, and now you've got traction. The moment you lose traction with anything, I think it's difficult. And I found that with the Mad Cartographer. Like, when I first started out, we were doing amazingly well. I latched on, like, early on doing Foundry VTT content, and there wasn't a lot of it, and so we were kind of like, for a long time, the go-to for Foundry VTT maps. And so we were kind of like riding that train really early on. And then I kind of got sidetracked doing a different Kickstarter project, doing a magazine, and it took up that much time, money, and energy that you kind of hit that burnout, and then you lose that traction, and it is so hard to try and get it back. And I'd say that is the thing with any type of socials. If you're trying to grow your brand, if you're trying to do anything, keep that traction. You've got to keep persevering, but you've also got to educate yourself on what works. I don't think there is a formula. There's certain best practices that you can and should do. Short form content is one of them. There's no point in putting stills up here, there, and everywhere. And kind of like, if you're not putting short form reels and stuff on and videos, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. And it is building up your numbers. It is building an audience for the thing that you want to do. Like, we've got a newsletter for the Mad Network, but it's predominantly built up off people that want fantasy battle maps. It is not transferable necessarily straight away into Madbog. So that's why we were quite conscious, like, we need to build up a new audience. The one that we've got, we might get a few people trickle over. But every time I put on a newsletter out promoting something that isn't about maps, you just see the unsubscribers go, yeah, see you later, I'm done. It's like, cool. So I think best practices, read up and build your audience however you're going to do it. If you're going to do it through socials, then just prepare to stick at it for a long time. I think people are just so wanting overnight success with stuff. It's like, it doesn't work like that. Like, I've been doing this for 5 years. I said I started in COVID, and I was speaking to one of my good friends, Mo Aggie from Loot Tavern, and we were talking about it the other day. They've got a Kickstarter coming out, and he's kind of projecting and hoping for it to, like, break 1.2 million plus. I'm like, that's not even a real number. Like, 5 years ago, for a Kickstarter that you were going to run, you'd have never thought, I'm going to run a Kickstarter that's 1.2 million. But that's now the expectation with some of these, like, bigger kind of companies, your Hit Point Presses and MCDM and things like that. There is this kind of unrealistic expectation that a lot of creators now come into, like, that's what I want to do. It's like, that's not how it works, man. They've got an audience already. They've got establishment in the industry. They've probably got an advertising budget that you don't have. And then every so often, somebody like Kelsey doing Shadow Dark comes along, and, like, they kind of like flip it and say, if they can do it, it's like, there's a lot that goes into it before they get to that point. So I think it is, you're kind of asking before, like, how do we plan to build up a social media following and whatnot. I think Tony was being a little bit sardonic about it. I don't think he has actually any intention or expectation that that's going to happen.
No, but it's fine. I think to make. I mean, we have to first of all make these jokes about the right wing grift, and second of all, have the hope that in 6 months we can see the change. Right, whether the change is, adding 10,000 followers, which is maybe achievable, or $1 million would be nice, but maybe that's further out. Right, maybe that's 5 years from, and that's again, it's actually it is a business model. It's just a weird business model that keeps changing, and that none of my generation I feel like went to school for. Maybe starting with. Maybe like there are now kids going to school to like learn how to do this. But I think if you came into this from, like in my case, writing words, and Chris's case, drawing pictures, it's like you didn't know how you would then translate that into like an online media presence that would fuel different segments in a email, a CRM, right? An email management sort of tool that would allow you to sort of give people what they want and somehow make enough money to keep going, which is like, okay, sure, I guess I'll Google how to do that shit. You know what I mean?
And I think that's the problem. Like you're saying, you'll Google how to do it. The problem is that some of us, kind of to varying degrees, you kind of hit some financial success and things start working. And usually it's because you've built this thing, and then there's things around the thing and the thing and the thing. So you kind of hit yourself at 100% capacity, and it's like, yeah, but now you've got to make short form content, and Reels is like, I do not have the time to do that, but I know I have to do it. For the majority of creators, it isn't not knowing what to do. It's just not having the time or the money or the personnel to help you do that extra thing. So I think the people that have done it the right way around, they did short form content, they did Reels, they did videos, they did YouTube, they already did that thing as the business, and now it allows them to make the other stuff. I think it's a lot harder doing it this way around. I am kind of like golden handcuffed to my Patreon because I have to do monthly content. So to try and step outside of it, for me, it requires me, taking, 80% of the money that I make on the Patreon and paying it towards a team so that they can make other stuff, so that we can have the Planet Hoppers, so that we can kind of have Madborg, and we can have this, that, and the other. So that's kind of what's happened with us. It is that, I've got the ideas, and there's like so many things that I want to do. But I think, like I was saying, I spoke to Aggie from Loot Tavern 5 years ago. I didn't think I'd be here in 5 years. And as much as I can kind of complain about stuff like, oh, this didn't happen and this wasn't as successful as I wanted to, it's a hell of a lot more successful than it would have been 5 years ago. It just took 5 years for me to kind of have that perspective and go, you know what? I'm so further on. So I think anybody that wants to make stuff, perspective, keep the perspective. You're always doing better than you did the day before.
Yeah, I think these are some key thoughts. I think it's a really good place to end it, Alex. Unless Chris has final questions, I think that's a really good thing to underline is like, keep going and do what makes you happy, and try to find ways to make it work, try to adapt. And Tony, you had said earlier, try to get better every time. And I think that's actually a really good point. And I try to do that, whether it's writing, game design, or art, graphic design, or the video, right? The social media marketing, email management, trying to understand customers and, okay, what do people actually like? You can get better at all those things, and you don't have to reinvent each of them every time. You just have to get a little better, right? So I think sticking with it and trying to get better and not lose your shirt, those are sort of in balance. And if you can kind of keep those all happy, then it can be a job. But
perfection is the enemy of good, is what they say, right?
Yeah.
Just do it. Doing it is better than trying to do it the best. Just
perfection and three-headed dog robots with demon souls. Those are the enemies of the good. So thanks for sharing your thoughts, Alex Hitchen and Anthony Grasso from the Mad Network, and Madborg and Cursed Flesh on indie RPGs in general, zombie games in particular. Chris, any final questions?
I do have final questions, and my final questions are as such. Alex, Tony, where can folks find you online? What are your pluggables? How can we best support you, especially as you are coming into... I don't know if we've actually said it. Folder Freak 2 goes live on Kickstarter Tuesday, October 7th, the same day as Dance Macabre, and you should back both in tandem because you can use Folder Freak and Dance Macabre, like Wythe was saying earlier. Just do a quick conversion of the numbers. But yeah.
Both games set in Tallahassee.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess. But anyway, back to my question. Alex, Tony, where can folks find you? What are your social media handles? Where can people see the beautiful Tony videos with Tony's bearded, disembodied head floating around the screen as he kind of yells at you about illustrations he's working on?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of doing all of the Tony videos. I've gone through a bit of a rebrand, so all of my socials are slowly making their way over to @TonioCabonio, spelled exactly how it sounds. Just a wacky, silly name with my name at the front of it.
Okay.
You're going to have to write that in the chat for folks, or send me later. We could try to put that in the show notes. I have no idea.
Spell out for the podcast.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun to decipher which consonants and syllables are going to go where.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. You definitely won't find any Russian malware sites by putting in those random syllables.
No, you know what's crazy? The SEO for Tonio Cabonio is going to go fucking nuts. It's going to be the only search option.
It won't, because nobody knows how to spell it, so it'll be lots of iterations. It'll be like a captcha. There's no bots coming to find your stuff.
That's how you protect yourself against the demon AI.
Yeah. For me, like I said, my socials are just terrible. You know, I'm the Mad Cartographer in various places. Sometimes I'm the Mad Network. So you can find everything at themad.network. That is our website. No .coms, no anything. Themad.network. Chef's kiss. So yeah, that's where you can find us. And if you want to find more about Cursed Flesh and all our other Borg stuff and most important Folder Freak, go to madborg.com. madborg.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Everyone should check out Folder Freak 2 and Danse Macabre, Medieval Horror Roleplaying. Thanks so much, Alex and Tony. We'll have to have you back on and check in, since we're sort of, I'd like to think, sibling, little companies here trying to make it work. Again, built on that Keystone Arch Pie of Anthony Grasso, aka Tonio Cabonio. Exactly. Thanks for listening, and thanks, Chris, as ever, for putting the show together. Really appreciate you, man. So thanks, everyone. This has been Why We Roll.
Thanks for listening to Why We Roll.
Our theme music is by the brilliant Sam Tyndall and Arpline.
If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
You can find us on all social media at Stillfleet. You can find out more about Danse Macabre, Stillfleet, and all of our games over at stillfleet.com.
Hi there, I'm Hugh from Poderation. If you like today's show, why not check out Dungeons & Dragonfruits, the bizarre, strange, and queer in every sense of the word D&D podcast. Join 5 friends as they laugh, learn, and adventure their way through the weird, wonderful world of Widdershins, where dragons hatch from trees and have adventures of all forms in every shape and size. Available wherever you can get your podcasts.